Before the flood, before the darkness came down like a curtain over all the earth, before the sons of God crossed a line that was never meant to be crossed, one man saw it all. He saw the beginning of the corruption. He saw what descended. He saw what was bred in the shadows between heaven and earth. And then God took him, silently, suddenly, as if the world was not worthy to keep him any longer. His name was Enoch, seventh from Adam, a prophet who never tasted death. But here is what they don't tell you in Sunday school. Before Enoch was taken, he left something behind. A warning, sealed inside a prophecy so precise, so far ahead of its time, that it was hidden for generations. The question is not whether you've heard of Enoch. The question is, why now? Genesis chapter 5 reads like a funeral march. Adam lived, and he died. Seth lived, and he died. Enoch lived, and he died. Generation after generation, the same verdict echoing like a drumbeat through time. And then, suddenly, the rhythm breaks. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. He was not. No grave, no burial, no final breath recorded. One moment he was here, and the next he was gone. Not because he escaped death, but because he walked so closely with God that earth could no longer hold him. This was not ordinary righteousness. This was proximity, intimacy. A life lived so aligned with the divine that the boundary between heaven and earth began to thin. And when that boundary thinned, God showed him things no man was meant to see. He saw beyond the visible world, beyond history, beyond the present moment. He saw into the structure of reality itself, the order of heaven, the rebellion beneath it, and the judgment that would one day consume everything.
He saw the Watchers. He saw the Nephilim. He saw what was coming. And before he was taken, he wrote it down. Not for the people of his time. They were already falling, already drifting, already too far gone to hear it. This warning was not for them. It was for a generation that would come later. A generation that would begin to look eerily familiar. In the days before Noah, when the world was still young and the line between heaven and earth was not as distant as it feels today, there existed a group of beings with a specific purpose. They were called the Watchers. Their assignment was simple, but sacred. To observe, to guard, to remain at the boundary between the divine and the human, ensuring that what God had separated remained separate. They were not sent to interfere. They were sent to watch. But something shifted. They looked down at humanity, and instead of guarding the boundary, they desired what was beneath them. And in that moment, observation turned into rebellion. They descended, not by accident, not by confusion, but by choice. A collective decision to cross a line that had never been meant to be crossed. This was not love. This was defiance.
A tearing of the fabric that held creation in order. They brought with them knowledge, powerful, dangerous knowledge, the kind of knowledge that gives control without wisdom, weapons without restraint, influence without accountability. Humanity
received it eagerly. Civilizations began to rise. Tools advanced. Power increased. But beneath the progress, something was rotting. Because what was being built was not aligned with the design of God. It was being reshaped, distorted, infected. And Enoch saw it clearly, while everyone else celebrated it. He saw the corruption spreading, not just in actions, but in nature itself. He warned them, and they did not listen. And then something even more unnatural emerged. The union between the Watchers and humanity did not remain spiritual. It produced something that had never existed before. The Nephilim, beings that did not belong either to heaven or to earth. Their size was overwhelming, yes, but that was not the true horror. The true horror was what they represented. The breaking of a divine law, each after its own kind. That was the order of creation. And now, that order had been violated.
The Nephilim were not just
Nephilim
giants.
through human civilization
They were evidence,
as living proof that the
proof
divine
that the
boundary
boundary
between
had
heaven
been
and earth
crossed.
had been broken.
And once that line was broken,
It's coming
everything
down.
began to
Run,
unravel.
faster!
Humanity itself began to change. Thoughts became darker. Desires became twisted. The image of God in man began to fade under the weight of something foreign taking root. It spread like a silent disease until the earth itself could no longer sustain what it had become. This is why the flood came. Not simply as punishment, but as preservation, a reset,
Divine judgment finally
a removal
brought the world to
of what could no
corruption.
longer be allowed to continue.
The flood began.
But here is what most people miss. Enoch did not describe this as a one-time event. He described it as a pattern, something that would happen again. Not necessarily in the same form, but in the same spirit, the same boundary breaking, the same pursuit of power without submission to God, the same distortion of what was created to be pure. And Jesus himself confirmed it. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be again. That was not a comparison. That was a warning.
Because Enoch did not just see the past, he saw forward. He saw judgment. He saw those same fallen beings, bound, restrained, held in darkness. Not destroyed, not erased. Waiting. Waiting for a final moment when everything would be brought to account. And he saw a generation, a specific kind of generation, a generation filled with knowledge, a generation advancing faster than its own understanding, a generation capable of reshaping life, redefining identity, and rewriting what it means to be human. A generation surrounded by information, yet starving for truth. He saw boundaries dissolving again, not through wings descending from the sky, but through choices, through ambition, through the quiet belief that humanity no longer needs God. And he warned them, the Lord is coming. Not symbolically, not eventually, but certainly.
With authority,
Hallelujah.
with judgment,
The Lord has
with
returned.
restoration.
The
And
kingdom
everything
is
that has been
established
hidden
on earth.
will be revealed. Everything that has been distorted will be corrected. Everything that has crossed the line will be brought back under it. The question is no longer whether this will happen. The question is when. And perhaps more importantly, who will be ready when it does? Because for centuries, this warning was not widely known. The writings of Enoch were preserved, but not always embraced. Set aside, debated, ignored. And yet one detail refuses to disappear. In the New Testament, in a letter written with urgency about the last days, the words of Enoch appear again. Not as history, but as prophecy.
The ancient
Which means the warning was never truly lost. It was simply waiting. Waiting for the time when it would be understood. Waiting for the generation it was written for. And that raises a question that cannot be ignored. What if this message was never meant for them? What if it was always meant for now? What if the delay was intentional? What if the silence was part of the design? Because a warning only matters if it reaches the right moment. And if you are hearing this now, then the moment may not be in the future anymore. It may be here, right now. This is where the warning becomes personal. Because this was never meant to be information. It was meant to be a decision. Enoch walked with God in a world that was collapsing in on itself. He did not adjust. He did not blend in. He did not follow the direction everything else was going. He walked in the opposite direction, toward God. And because of that, he was taken. Not as an escape, but as a testimony. A reminder that even in the darkest generation, alignment with God is still possible. But the same world he walked in is forming again.
The same patterns, the same choices, the same drift away from what is true, and the same outcome is still ahead. The return is not a metaphor. It is not symbolic. It is real. And when it happens, it will not be subtle. It will not be quiet. It will not be ignorable. Everything will stop. Everything will be revealed. Everything will be decided. And in that moment,
has returned.
there will be no middle ground,
Kingdom is established
no
on
delay,
earth.
no second chance to reconsider. Only one question will remain. Which side are you on? Do you believe this warning came too early or exactly on time? If something in you feels awake right now, then don't ignore it. That awareness is not random. It is a signal, a call, a moment to choose. Comment "Watcher" if you feel the urgency of what you just heard. Comment "Ready" if you already know where you stand. And if this message stirred something deeper than words, share it. Because someone else may be standing at the same line. And time is the one thing none of us can get back. Stay awake. The warning has been given.